Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this meeting of Cabinet West Northants Council today, the 16th of July, the time 6 p.m. Okay, everybody in position. Technology is okay, all clear? Okay, let's get the session to commence. Okay, we'll start with our apologies for absence, item number 1 on today's agenda. I have received no apologies prior to the meeting. Is there any apologies to pass from members present or otherwise? No, thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 2. Are there any declarations from members or officers in relation to any items on the agenda? Councillor Butler, your microphone. No problem.
I'll have to shout. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Councillor Last and I declare an interest in Appendix C.
Are you referring to item on the agenda regarding to the assets?
Yeah, sorry.
Item 15.
And the affordable housing.
And the affordable one. Thank you. That's noted for the record.
Thank
Any
you.
other? The nature is that he's a resident of Brackley and a member of Brackley Town Council. And Councillor Last is not. He is a resident of Brackley. Thank you. Councillor Coos, please.
I need to register an interest in item 15, Appendix F. I am a ward councillor for Nen Valley. This land falls in that area, and I'm also a councillor on the Wootton Parish Council, which is affected, so I will not be voting.
Thank you, Councillor Coos.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll note that you're not voting on that item. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. If there's no further declarations, addressed to item number 3, the minutes of the last meeting. And on that item, I need to sign the minutes, but I need to ask members if there's anything in the minutes that's subject to accuracy that I need to be notified on. I can't therefore sign the minutes of the last meeting. Any members? Nope. May I have a copy of the meeting minutes to sign if I've not got them?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
My apologies. Thanks very much. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, which is the chair's announcements. So obviously, just prior to getting underway with the main part of the agenda, to say thank you to everyone who's attending today in the public gallery at the back there. It's great to see a full chamber and democracy in action. I would just ask, as we have in other meetings, that those members of the public that are speaking on items on the agenda stick to the time that you're allotted with the buzzer and stick to the substantive content of the reports. And likewise, our members observe the same principles. Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, urgent business. I do not have any items of urgent business to declare to the meeting. And therefore, we'll move on to item number 6, a report from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, if any. And I have Councillor McCord in the room. He's indicating he has nothing to bring. Okay, on to the main items of the agenda. Item number 7, the Sustainability Strategy Review. And I invite Councillor Nigel Stansfield to introduce the report to the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to propose a revision of the Council's climate change targets. This will allow us to focus our resources on projects that deliver the greatest benefits to our residents, aligned with the new administration's policy to no longer pursue the current 2030-2045 net zero targets. On March the 14th, 2022, the Council adopted a Sustainable West Northants plan, a broader sustainable strategy that moved beyond a purely climate-focused agenda. At the time, the Council also pledged to reach a net zero for our operational emissions by 2030 and for residents by 2045. However, in line with the new administration's priorities, we are now refocusing and delivering a sustainable strategy that has a direct, measurable impact for our communities and businesses, and that are financially viable. As such, continue to pursue the 2030 and 2045 net zero target is no longer realistic. We have fully acknowledged that the central government target of net zero by 2050, and we remain committed to contributing to that goal. But we must also be honest. Achieving this will require a significant shift in national policy and funding. Without that, setting early targets risks being either misleading or financially irresponsible. Attempting to meet the 2030 target will lead to one of two things. We fail to meet the target, undermining public trust. We divert millions of pounds away from essential services that are already immensely under pressure. Across the country, councils are facing growing demands with insufficient government support. A recent national survey found that 70% of council officers had little or no confidence in meeting their 2030 net zero targets. We are not being given the tools or funding to deliver the best outcomes for our residents or the environment. If we continue on the current path, we will likely need to spend millions of pounds on carbon offsetting, funds that could otherwise support local services and infrastructure. And as we approach 2030, these costs will only increase. Removing the current targets brings clarity. It allows us to develop a realistic, deliverable, sustainable strategy, one that supports our communities, helps our businesses, and reflects the financial realities we all face. This does not mean we are abandoning the environmental responsibilities. We will continue to build on the excellent work already underway, such as upgrading the street lighting to LED lighting, improving the sustainability of our buildings, and looking into the future possibilities using biofuels for our waste lorries. In fact, later on tonight on the agenda, we'll be discussing the scheme that delivers both strong and environmental outcomes, tangible benefits for the residents, demonstrating our continued commitment to sustainability. Our options before us are this: maintain the 2030 zero target, develop a fully costed delivery plan, which wasn't done before, and allocate the necessary budget. Maintain the 2045 and invest in stakeholder engagement and deliver planning. Maintain both targets and commit to the actions above. Withdraw the 20, or section number 4, we withdraw from the 2030 and 2045 targets, and instead focus on sustainable projects that deliver real local benefits, such as home energy improvements, biodiversity initiatives, local power, domestic power, solar and power generation, and when financially viable. Given the challenge of options 1, 2, and 3, in the line with new administration's policy, I recommend that the Cabinet supports option 4. I therefore commend to the Cabinet the recommendations set out in figure 3.1 on this report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Stansfield. It's quite clear. I hope everyone in the public gallery and other members have read the report. It's a substantial piece of work that's been put together, and I thank the office for doing so from the start of our administration. Bring forward now to the public speakers and just re-emphasise what I said before. Please do stick to the content of the report and do stick to the time allocated. I will indicate when your time's come to an end. I'd like to invite Mr. Dave Pearson, the co-chair of the West Northants Green Party, to speak. Thank you, Mr. Pearson.
Thank you, Chair. Councillors, this evening, you face a grave choice: whether or not to abandon our net zero targets and with them our commitment to urgent climate action. This week, the Met Office published a State of the Climate report, which confirms what we can all see with our own eyes. Extreme weather is the new normal, and it's rapidly getting worse. This review says that you want to achieve better results for nature. Well, heat stress is already killing trees in Northampton parks. Our villagers live in dread of floods every winter. There's a very real risk that oak trees and bluebells won't survive the temperature increase, and 80% of our farmers are deeply concerned about the climate crisis. These extremes are caused by carbon dioxide that we produce. The science is clear, and the public are worried. Only ambitious action now can limit the devastation that our children and our children's children will have to endure. The proposal you're voting on doesn't actually identify any savings. It does, however, highlight investments that our current climate policies have attracted, and there will be more money for councils that are working towards ambitious targets. The councils that are dragging their feet on climate mitigation will miss out on that money and the jobs that come with it. The NHS say that action on climate change will improve our people's health and reduce the financial burden on local NHS services. Spending less on mitigation now will cost us more in the future. In January this year, a report came out on how much the climate crisis will cost. It says the global economy could face a 50% loss in GDP between 2070 and 2090, unless immediate policy action is taken. Now, that report's not from a bunch of loony lefties, but the nation's experts on risk, the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. And the financial arguments keep coming. Locally produced power can reduce our energy bills and protect us from energy price shocks from things like wars and natural disasters. Net zero targets aren't just good for the planet. They're not just good for air quality and health. They make perfect sense economically too. Yes, other parts of the world aren't doing enough. Yes, they do emit more carbon. But the climate crisis requires all of us to act at all levels. As a local authority, you have the opportunity to lead meaningful change and a duty to protect the residents from harm. We want to believe that Reform councillors here today want to act in the best interest of the people of West Northants. But the big question is this: will you? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Much appreciated. The next speaker I have listed is Tina Matthews, the Umbrella CAH Coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm here speaking on behalf of 1000 Voices again. We've been coming to the council meetings now for 2 years, and we've been raising awareness about clean air leadership and climate action. Today, I noticed that on the agenda, you've got some really important items, one being the refuge and support services for victims and survivors of domestic abuse, as well as a number of other key and critical issues that we would wish you to make a decision on. And I find it very difficult that these are on the same item as the decision for net zero. And in the worst times, I feel that's somewhat cynical to put it on the same agenda. But I'm here, and 1000 Voices are here to tell you that this meeting will not continue should you choose to keep a decision about abolishing net zero on this agenda this evening. It's within your gift to make the right decision and for the smooth continuation of tonight's meeting by striking item 7 and any related decisions off the agenda tonight. WNC must recognise the life-changing impacts of the climate crisis. It's happening now, it's happening on your doorstep. In the past 7 days, heat health warnings have been up on your website, and you've had to enact SWEP, not because it's too cold, but because the heat is so extreme. Local flood forecasting and flood risk ratings become a standard when someone sells their house. I don't know whether everybody's noticed that when you look at the bottom of new details for houses, what is the flood risk? Houses that aren't fit for purpose and are not insulated properly are impacted. Local farmers report bad harvests for last year because of the wet weather, and now they're heading again for a bad harvest because of the dry weather. This year saw the hottest spring on record, the hottest May, which was up to 29 degrees, and the hottest June, which was up to 34. And this is since records began in 1884. When we came before, we said 1,000 Voices deals with facts, not opinions. That's all we deal with. We deal with facts. If WNC think that they can't do anything to help local people deal with the climate crisis impacts, as you state in your report, you are not telling the truth. There is no sustainability without climate action. There is no assurance of a safe environment for the future without climate action. And we cannot carry on business as usual. It is nonsense to say that you have a commitment to climate action on the environment through sustainability. I mean, what does that mean?
Ms. Matthew, I'm going to have to ask you to
This
park there
work-
because the time is up, I'm afraid. I do have a
Okay,
long agenda and I'd love to hear lots of views from
Yeah,
other people.
but I'll
I
just
do need to
address-
stick to the time, I'm afraid. Thank you.
As I said at the
Thank you.
beginning, the meeting isn't going to go ahead unless we have
Um,
insurances
thank-
that this comes off.
I ask you to return to your seat, madam, so we can get on with the meeting, please. Thank you, madam. Okay, we'll take a decision to pause the meeting in this case. Thank you. The meeting is paused.